The man in the arena. This phrase conjures up mental images of a lone man breathing heavily and wearily with his hands covered in dirt and blood. And surrounding him sits thousands upon thousands of people watching his every move with anticipation and excitement. They wildly applaud him with every swing of his sword and every block with his shield, and although the masses cheer passionately for him, the man in the arena knows that they are criticizing him. The crowd discusses the man's actions amongst themselves, while the man below is in the heat of battle, saying things like, "Oh, if he would have only attacked with his offhand here, or if he would have ducked here, he would have had a better chance for success." He hears their criticisms and he continues on, and he fights because he knows he would rather be in the arena taking action than be a spectator in the stands just voicing their opinion. This allegory offers us a picturesque explanation of how the masses are so quick to criticize their leaders rather than finding a solution. How we are so quick to point out flaws in the system as opposed to actually solving the problem. The image of the man in the arena is more than just an allegory. It is a wake-up call that was first issued by President Theodore Roosevelt in his speech, Citizenship in a Republic. In this speech, Roosevelt called out to the people of the world and urged them to not be satisfied by being a critical spectator, but rather to throw themselves into the fray and be a proponent for change. From this speech, there is no quote more memorable than this. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, and who comes up short again and again and again because he knows there is no effort without error or shortcoming. Roosevelt's Citizenship in a Republic drastically altered the fate of all of Europe as they headed toward World War I. Roosevelt's Citizenship in a Republic was world-changing. However, it was not just the words that made the speech so powerful. Rather, it was the time in which they were given. There are two reasons that Roosevelt's speech was given at a perfect time. The first, at this point in time, France was a major world power. And also going on in England, they had just been on the tail end of a very large social reform, which resulted in a very drastic cultural shift. In fact, this cultural shift was more of just a reawakening as the old ways began to die and the country became a little more modernized. In fact, Roosevelt addressed this cultural shift by saying, "Thank you to the innumerable host of humble students, whom it was well nigh the only outlet from the dark thraldom of the Middle Ages." The second reason this speech was given at a very vital time was because it was given just a few short years before World War I. The speech woke up Europeans and encouraged them to be the change instead of just sitting around criticizing the government. This charge influenced an entire culture once they found themselves in a struggle for power and survival, and it unified them to fight to preserve the common good. Now we see why the timing was so perfect for Roosevelt to give this speech, but what made Roosevelt the right man to give it? President Roosevelt was probably the best person that could have given this speech at this point in time, mainly due to his reputation as being a bold and prepared leader. Roosevelt was the first president that led the United States onto the world stage through his extensive involvement in foreign affairs. In fact, it could be argued that Roosevelt's diplomatic skill greatly altered the outcome of World War I. In addition, Roosevelt was also a very well-known soldier, which gave him the reputation of being trustworthy, honest, and decisive. These perceptions also allowed him to carry a little more political weight when he was in the midst of other political leaders. Now, with the right man issuing a daring charge at just the right time, the result that followed was a drastic change. Roosevelt's message promoted betterment of societal conditions in several ways, the most important of which was the newfound patriotism that developed in England prior to entering World War I. Due to this speech, England received the little push that finalized their social reform. In fact, it could be argued that England had greater chances entering into World War I due to the increased patriotism and heightened national pride of the English people. Due to this heavy impact that Roosevelt's speech had on all of Europe, it proved to be a major turning point in world history. Roosevelt's Citizenship in a Republic called all of Europe together at a crucial time. As the world inched towards World War I, Roosevelt's motivating words both praised the country for their worthy successes, and also issued a powerful charge to all of Europe. This charge served as a turning point in England's social reform, and also as a call to patriotism for the rest of Europe. In closing, I leave you with Roosevelt's last words from this powerful speech. You have had a great past. I believe you will have a great future. Long may you carry yourselves proudly as citizens of a nation which bears a leading part in the teaching and uplifting of all mankind. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? You, yes.
Has this speech affected you in your own life?
I think it has, because it's kind of given me perspective as far as not wanting to be a spectator in the stands criticizing things, but kind of makes me want to be the person instigating change and actually fighting and taking action. Anybody else? We'll go with you.
Did you know how important this speech was when you first picked it?
I actually did not. The only part I knew of this speech was it is not the critic who counts, it is the man in the arena. I knew that little segment. I didn't really know anything else about it until I started researching it, and I realized how important this speech was during that period of time. Yes?
Would you say that this speech is one of the best speeches ever given?
I wouldn't say that, because if I'm honest, the only thing that made this speech so important was just the timing that it was given. I wouldn't say that it was a really historic speech. It was really just one part of it that remains in people's minds to this day. Yes, sir?
Why did you choose this speech?
I chose this speech because I first heard it in middle school, and that was a really big deal to me as I was playing sports and things and trying to always be the one taking action instead of just whining about things. Yes?
What do you think would have happened if the speech wasn't given?
It's hard to say what specifically, but I can definitely say that I feel that England would not have had as much national pride or patriotism heading into World War I, which probably would have created a lot more damage than they did experience. In closing, Roosevelt's Citizenship in a Republic was an extremely powerful speech that was given at just the right time.